Welcome to the SBPA Webinar series for the Buysinglit MTL Book Bazaar. Lastly, we have invited NLB to share about their initiatives and plans for the literary publishers.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending the Mother Tongue Languages Book Bazaar webinar. This is the final webinar and it's titled Initiatives and Plans for the Literary Publishers. So before we begin the bazaar, we'd like to invite Mr. Jean Tan, who is the Assistant Chief Executive, Partnership and Strategy Group of NLB to just say a few words. Jean, please.
Yeah, hi everyone. Good afternoon. Just here to say hi to all our friends from the publishing industry. And I have just returned to NLB after a long posting outside, and I'm very excited about where we are heading. Reason being that we've had a very meaningful discussion with SBPA, and we hope to work very closely with publishers. I think we are going to go much further than we've done before. There have been some discussions, and I think together with Max and Edmund, we are talking about libraries helping to not just tell people about the books that all the publishers are coming up with, but also to create more direct relationship between the library user, and the purchase of books. So we are working on the technicality of that right now, so that we hope that with so much traffic coming to the library, that traffic will translate not only into loans, but also into purchases. So eventually the market for reading of Singapore material, right, that's published by us will be much, much bigger. Okay, so today we have two of my colleagues who's going to share some of the initiatives in NLB with you. And I hope that in the years to come, we are going to take an unprecedented step for libraries and publishers to really expand the market, quite dramatically. Thank you, Ulrich.
Thanks, Jean. So now we'd like to proceed to the next segment of the program. It's introduction to pop-ups at libraries and SG Alcove. This will be led by Chris Koh, who is the Assistant Director, Literary Arts and National Reading Movement of NLB. So Chris, just a background, Chris is now Chris heads the Literary Arts and National Reading Movement team in NLB with the aim to build a vibrant reading culture. She used to head the engagement team for the National Library and the National Archives of Singapore. So and was involved in national initiatives like the SURE campaign, a national information literacy program, and the Singapore Memory Project. So without further ado, I would like to invite Chris to speak. Chris, please.
Thanks, Ulrich. Let me just share my screen. Just to share a little bit more as well, actually, I've been in NLB for, actually, I just calculated yesterday, for 15 years. So I have been doing programs, mainly engagement for the different units. I think I started off doing children's programming, and then I moved on to do business programming, and so on and so forth. And only early this year, I took over the Lit Arts and the National Reading Movement team. And so really happy to see how we can work together with the publishers. And as what Jean said, I think really that there is a lot of opportunity for us to work together. We have been already working together, but I think it comes at this critical time. I think this current, at least at this current juncture, I think where we are now, with COVID and all, I think the library can also play a big effort to work with the publisher and see how we can bring out the reading ecosystem. So I will be talking about two things, as what Ulrich has mentioned, about the Singapore Alcove. I will explain a little bit more later, and also some of the opportunities that we can have pop up at the libraries. I thought that would be really quite interesting for me to share as well. Oops, let me just go back. Okay, so I think this would be, you'll probably be the first one, the public, to know about this. So usually for libraries, we after a few years, probably for maintenance, for upkeep, we will revamp the library. So the Central Public Library is scheduled to go through that refresh early next year. And it will be closed for a year, and I think we come probably a year is a rough indication, when we talk about renovations, and especially when again, in this climate, the timing needs to be a bit fluid and flexible as well, but we are targeting a year for it to be open. As part of this revamp, we really see how we can build on the central location of the library. The programs, the lit art programs that we have always been doing are always housed at the Central Public Library as well. And it being what we also possibly see as like a flagship library of sort, is actually the best location for us to feature our Singapore collection. That's where we hope, and we're planning to build on this thing, what we call the Singapore alcove within the library at Central Public Library. So just a little bit more about what we are hoping to present in Singapore alcove itself. Other than just local literature, I think we're just presenting everything Singapore, including our heritage. I think there's also a lot of strong connection with the content that you see in our local literature relating to our Singapore content, information, history. And we also see, actually, we do see a lot of writers, a lot of publishers do come and make use of our collection at the National Library and National Archives as well, to build on their writings. So we thought this would be an opportunity to then really focus this area at Central Public Library, to build on this area as well. So what you will be able to see in this space is there will be a semi kind of permanent exhibition that will be refreshed every couple of years or so. And we will always be updating the content every 6 months as well. I think, and it's not just, as I said, current content or new titles. We are looking at even some of the collections that we have the National Library related to the literary pioneers. We will possibly see how we can weave that into the narrative to showcase, to really engage the public. And of course, it's not just physical books. There's also a lot of digital content. I think Jane later will also talk about specifically about the digital content that her MTL team is working on. And this is also where the National Library Board is heading towards in reaching out to people, in producing more digital content to make things basically accessible to people. And not just our collection, but the collection relating to you yourself, the publisher, or even other institutions like the museums as well. We see there a certain collection that we thought would be interesting to the public. So this will also be placed together under this whole space in the Central Public Library under Singapore alcove. Of course, when we talk about engaging the public, it's not, you require more than just a space. A lot of programming will come in as well. So that's where we are hoping to also work with the publishers. At the same time, of course, we're also coming out with a whole lineup of programs, regular programs that we hope to be able to share with the people. And of course, this information can also be shared in time to come as well to all of you. And it's not just to show our collection, I think to also go behind the scene. I think for people to really relate to what we are doing, and not just for the librarians, I think really the whole process of producing a book is interesting for people to really see what the hard work that goes behind the scene, and be able to relate to them and as well. So when we talk about programs, it's also not just about showcasing of books. The idea of, I think, to really showcase, to put a face to the name is also our intention as well when we are putting up programs. And to allow people to take ownership and take pride of our literature and heritage. I think quite importantly is to co-create with them, to hear from them what they would like to do, to get them involved, to come down and work together with us on some of the spaces, the programs, or perhaps even small showcase that can be within the alcove area. And of course, Central Public Library is also a big space, and there's also possibility to carve out some of the exhibition space or programming space that we think that's worthwhile to work together. Some of the examples that you can see actually for this MTL Bazaar, you already see how we were working with SBPA, where we provided space for them to have their showcase, and we're also working with them and hosting some of the programs they have as well. So this is something we are hoping to work together with a lot of partners together to align and complement the programs that we are putting up. So as I mentioned earlier, we have been doing a lot of Buysinglit programs. Previously, before COVID, most of them are housed. Actually, all of them are housed at Central Public Library, but most of them now are all held online at this point. And you see major events like Read Fairs, which we have also worked with SBPA as well. And some of the bookstores and publishers were kind enough to work with us and offer discounts of the books that were featured in the festival. Upcoming, we have Night at the Library. Really, the event is to try to attract the teens and the youth by using this night event, the mystery thing, to attract them. And this year, the theme for that is on uncertainty, and really to talk about things you might not know, not necessarily the supernatural, but really learning how to face possible death, learning the uncertainty, basically even now, the uncertainty, and we try to address that as well. We also have a lot of seasonal programs that are held throughout the year. And you might be familiar with some of them. Of course, I'm sure you're familiar with, you can see from the pictures there, the different writers, authors, and moderators that we have invited to share the program with us. So we have How to Fall in Love with Classics with Gui, Head to Head with Crispin, SG of the series, Think Lit literary workshops, and more. So when we look at this whole series of programs that we already have, we will, in order to come up with what other programs we should have for the Singapore Alcove to really help to complement this. One of the things which I would like to share is which we are also helping to pump it up, is to get people to be more aware and to read our mother tongue language books as well. And we know it is tough. We know it's tough in our programs to get the youth to do that, and we have tried it out in our the Read Festival that passed recently, and we have tried out some of the things that we are proposing here that we thought we see some interest, and we would like to expand that further. So this program that we are hoping to curate, and content that we hope to curate as part of the Buysinglit programs at Singapore Alcove, is to look at a yearly, quarterly theme selection of the different kind of books across the 4 languages. Other than just featuring the books, we are also creating a platform for people to share, and this discussion will be done in English, but of course there'll be translation if need to. Basically, it's like, you know, how we sometimes speak to our friends. Even though we do speak in English, we do add in a splatter of like Chinese, Malay, or Tamil, and we want to really have this kind of casual platform where the youth, actually, we're trying to get them to come in and be exposed, and because there's just so many good content and current content that they are interested in, which we think they'll be interested in, but they might be intimidated by perhaps the thick book that they have to read. How do we able to really break that barrier and get them to be interested, maybe by cutting into smaller short stories, or just point out some of the interesting part of the stories that we can get them to start. So that's where we're hoping to do, and to really feature them and translate them into English as well. In fact, Jane, if she has time, she can share a little bit more. We do have a similar project that's called One Story that we are already doing as well, that we translate a local short story from its original language to the various languages as well. And then we kind of work on programs around it, but we really want to expand this a little bit more. And we know that NAC is really interested in this as well, and they will be working closely with us to see how we can expand that, not just, I think, within Central Public Library under Singapore Alcove, I think digitally, or even outside of the library, perhaps that's also possible. Other than this, there are still a few programs that we're looking at. So unfortunately, I can't share them now because it's really just in our planning stage. But the idea is to really have a sustained program throughout the year in a variety of formats. And it's not just a physical talk or seminar. It could be online videos. It could be a debate. It could be anything, really to try to reach out to as many people as possible, catering to the different target audience and their different interests in the topics as well. So we are, as I said earlier, we have been working a lot with the publishers and with some of the organizations as well. And we are really thankful for them to work with us and provide us with all the content. And the upcoming Singapore Writers Fest, we are also working with them to see how we can feature the collection, the writers, and we're also housing some of the exhibitions they have in the library, Singapore Book Council, for Buysinglit, and many other publishers and bookstores we are working with. So we are really thankful, and we really would like to extend our invitation to you guys. And I guess Yurik will be able to also share this with other publishers who might not be able to attend, to really see how we can really build Singapore Alcove and Central Public Library as a place where people will remember, will know to come for any Singlit kind of programs. And we are really happy and to open up the space and work together with you on building up that marketing and engagement for your titles, for the authors featured as well. And the promotions are going to be done on site and online. And we really think it's a good opportunity for us to do that. So I'm not done yet because it sounds like I'm going to finish. It ties in then naturally to the next part, which in the title you kind of see that, which is about the pop-up libraries. So when you talk about partnership, Jean talked about how and about getting publishers to come in and perhaps to sell books in the library. We thought that this is something we have not thought about, and I think this year when we started to do a lot of discussion, we thought, why not? We're really trying to build this reading ecosystem, and it shouldn't be restricted to just borrowing books. We really want to just build the whole reading culture, be it to borrow, be it to buy, be it even just reading short articles online. So we want to make it a seamless kind of experience for the user. And when they come to the libraries, they could, if there are books that they're interested in that happens to be not available, or the books that they have read and they really love it so much, they would like to purchase, there's an option for them to do that as well. So we are hoping to work with SBPA and also with you to see how we can then have a bookshop in our libraries on a yearly basis. And it need not be an actual bookshop. So it need not be have to factor in a person there physically to man it. It could also possibly be a digital bookshop. That's what we call it. You can have like a wallpaper library kind of concept where you can show your titles, and if people are interested in the book after they read it in the library and they would like to buy it, they can also scan the QR code and it goes to your website that they can purchase it. So there are many ways of doing it. These are just some of the examples and some of the case study we have seen in other countries that we were hoping to learn from them as well, and to see how we can build that in. We are also looking at how we can incorporate the sale of book within our OPAC system. So when people search for a particular book online, then trying to find where the book is available at which library or which shelf, we also offer them the opportunity to say, if you're interested in the book as well, if you're interested to buy the book, you can also click on that link. So, but these are just still work in progress. There's a lot of IT staff involved, the technical staff that I'm not familiar with, but I know my colleagues are working hard to see how we can build that into the system. So the three pictures here basically just give you an idea of what are the possibilities and what has been done by the other libraries, and we are hoping that we could do that eventually. Might not be so soon because I think it takes a lot of time. It takes to in fact work with publisher to see how we can build the best way to do it as well for yourself and for our consumers. So these are just so what do I mean by digital when we say physical and digital? Earlier I spoke about the physical part that users can borrow the physical books, and the digital part where they can scan and then connect to the bookshop. Some of the examples that we have also included here, it need not just also be kind of like a year-long bookshop that we can look at. It could also be a seasonal one, or basically when there's a particular book launch and you would like to showcase, to have a big showcase of that in the library and for a month or so. And we can possibly work on this book launch takeovers where you can have a space to sell the books. You can also have a space to lead people to your bookstores, and then you have programs that come with it. And you could time this in, to one that is convenient to you, or we can time this with specific book fairs like what we are having now. So I think the opportunities abundance. I think these are just some of the examples, but there might be more that we can discuss and see how we could work together with you to really fit into your business model, and see how best that we can deliver this. And really at the end of the day is really we are trying to build that vibrant reading culture for our community, be it just coming to the library to borrow a book, or to know about our authors and to know our bookstores and the publishers as well. And basically that's from me. So if you are interested, later there's a Q&A, but if you want to contact me directly as well, my email is right here, so you can just drop me a note anytime. Thank you. I'll just leave this slide on for a little while. Okay.
Thanks, Chris, for the presentation. So we'll take questions at the end of the segment. So we'll move on to the next segment. The next segment is actually focused on promoting reading in mother tongue languages through digital content. This will be led by Jane Wee, who is the Senior Head of Chinese language in the collections and collection planning development department of NLB. So Jane is responsible for the overall strategic directions and implementation of nationwide reading for the Chinese language. And her team also works on the development of the physical and digital library collections in the entire public library network for the Chinese language. So without further ado, Jane, please.
So give me some time to share my content. Eric, I think you'll need to allow me to share the content.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So very good afternoon to all. So for my presentation, I think what I will do is to continue with what Chris has shared. I took the liberty to actually add on a subheading called "A Case of the Chinese Language," partly because that's where my experience are. So I will feel more comfortable to share with it. But whatever that I share is also applicable for Malay and Tamil language as well. So Chris has actually mentioned a few projects that NLB has worked on. So the Singapore Alcove, the Read Fairs, and One Story, where of all 4 languages are included. So for my presentation, I will actually skip those, but focus on those that's really pertaining to the individual mother tongue. So first of all, this is our team. So we do have dedicated teams working on the respective mother tongue languages. So it's quite a small team for all 3 of us. So I think some of you may have worked with us quite closely already. So these are my team members. If you have actually identified someone that you have not worked before and you would like to know them, I think you can actually follow up with me later. So yes, we are responsible for the co-collection development. We are also responsible for the content curation, meaning that whatever books that we bring in for the library, we will package them and then according to the target audience and try to promote those collections. So sometimes it may just be a book recommendation with book reviews or synopsis. Other time it is really picking up from certain passages and include it in certain book sharing and discussion. Even we go down to schools to promote those titles as well. So there's also the reading initiatives. for all ages. We take care from 0 years old to until the time that you can still read, or even if you can't, your eyesight is not really that great anymore, we still have audiobooks. So all the networking and partnerships are also done by the team. So our portfolio is pretty big to start off. So I think you may be interested to know where we get our collection from. So for the different languages, we do focus on these countries. So for National Library, the books are from a wider range of countries. So for example, some of them may get it from UK, even for Chinese title. So long as the books is, let's say, on written about Singapore or Southeast Asia, they will get those books. But for Chinese, for public libraries, we will usually be just focusing on this group of countries. So yes, for Malay titles, we do bring in Bahasa Indonesian books. So COVID actually changed quite a lot of our daily life. So likewise for libraries, back in April 2020, we were actually closed for about 3 months. We will reopen in July. And even right now, the library is also running with a reduced capacity. So in a sense that we only allow up to 50% of our total capacity. And at one point in time, before July this year, public still have to book a slot to come into the library, especially during the busy weekends. So in response to that, we do have to move our service and our collection to the digital platform. So a number of our programs have to move online. So quite a lot of our talks, reading club sessions are moved digitally. So likewise for storytelling, we no longer can hold storytelling for children in the libraries for a certain period of time. And even right now, we also do not really actively conduct MTL storytelling sessions in the physical library. So what we use as a replacement is convert this to a digital storytelling. So likewise, when we want to promote our ebooks, we come up with creative ideas like having our librarians to be on screen to share books digitally through video contents. And in April last year, for Chinese language, so beside the usual Libby or the Overdrive platform, where we find most of our English and MTL books, the Chinese section also launched a new platform that's based on in Taiwan. So HiRead is there. So currently, Libby has quite a number of local publishers publication in there. But for HiRead, the difference is that we also include other publishers that's not represented in Libby. So one example would be the Bafang that's currently on HiRead. So in response to COVID, we do increase the number of digital titles in MTL on our platform and trying to push our services and content through digital means. So for the next few slides, I will actually run through some of the, based on the target audience, what exactly have we done for them. So first, the children and teens. So for the Chinese team, we know that the parents these days, they are probably more comfortable with English language. They can probably read faster in English. And partly because of the busy schedule, we help to try to cut down the time that they need to learn how to, for example, how to select the right books, right Chinese books for their children, as well as certain tips that they can use when they want to read to their children in Chinese. So we have created a bilingual guide, giving them from 0 to 3, what are the type of materials that you can find in the library, and the little guidelines and tips on how to do it. So this recommendation will include both print and ebooks, although we still feel that the children, very young children, should actually start off with print. But because of COVID, we really have to push a little bit harder for the ebooks as well. So we have the librarians coming in again to create videos. So we have one of our librarians, Qing Li, with his child, and also Luo Jia, another librarian from one of the public library with her daughter. So partly because of the reduced number of visitors to our library, and our librarians are no longer able to promote the collection to the public at our physical libraries, a lot of promotion have to go through the social media. So all 3 MTL languages have our own Facebook group. Currently, the Chinese have about close to 10,000 members. And this is one of the efforts that we also try to promote similar content or the same content repackaged in a different way to the parents and members of public. So this is one of the examples that this is one of the local publication where we have an introduction in both English and Chinese recommended to the parents. So this book is on home-based learning and easy parenting tips where, for example, when do you start to read to a child? So even a child of 0 to 2 months old, you can start off with a black and white book. So we also promote both physical and digital, but it's really more direct and easier to promote digital because once the parents like what we have presented, a click of the button will actually lead them to the actual content. But meantime, for physical books, they really have to have an extra step to go a bit deeper. To go to the library, look out for the books, and the books may not be on the shelf. So this is the digital storytelling that we do. Currently, we still have 2 books, 2 stories per month for Chinese, and 1 in Malay, 1 in Tamil per month. So we are quite thankful to some of the local publishers that was in last year, when they actually give us free rights to use that material to create digital storytelling videos that we can push out through our social media. So currently, we are still working with them to see how we can continue this relationship. So of course, we understand that it would not be free moving forward. So we are working very closely with them to see how we can procure rights with these publishers. So once the books are available, it will be shown on the social media and public can still access it. So what we intended to do is once we have created a certain number of video, we will create a playlist and promote this storytelling as a package to the schools as well as to the parents. So the key thing is that we do promote the same title along with the videos. So we do have feedback from schools to say that they do use this digital storytelling during their reading session with the class. And at the same time, the school, if let's say they have the books with them, they will also let the children read the book. So they hear the story first, then they have the physical titles to read through on their own. So this we see as one of the potential that we can continue to work with our publishers. So we do realize that some of the MTL titles, especially for Malay and Tamil, are quite lacking, especially so this is one of the projects that we've been working on for the past few years. And finally, we do have some breakthrough. So we do launch about 4 Chinese books and 3 Malay and 3 Tamil titles earlier this year. So for this whole project, we intend to have a total of 12 Chinese titles, 15 Malay and 15 titles to be produced. So when we produce these books, we work with the English publishers to secure the rights, translate it to the respective MTL languages. So the intent is to put the books available in the library for print as well as digital. So as I mentioned earlier, it's actually easier for us to promote e-titles through our current marketing channel. So beside the books that we are promoting, the same digital storytelling videos will be created and then we'll promote the books together. So for this lot, we will complete this whole cycle hopefully by middle of next year. And then we are interested to continue to find more titles beside this 12 for Chinese, 15 for Malay and Tamil respectively. We are also interested to find more local quality, good English titles to be translated to the vernacular languages. So with this digital content, we do work very closely with schools. So for the Chinese team, we work closely with CPCLL, the Chinese Committee for Promotion of Chinese Language Learning. So every quarter during the school holidays period, we will actually push these EDMs to them, to the Chinese school teachers. So some of the local publications are also featured here. So I mentioned just now about the MTL content and English books that's translated to the Chinese, Malay, and Tamil. So on the top screen, you actually see the Ya Li Qiu, the one with yellow and a lot of round stuff in there. So that was actually one of the book that we have secured the rights from the author and publishers and translated it to Chinese. And it's currently our best, the top loan title for the Chinese ebook. So during this period, CPCLL do ask for more focus on ebooks, because that's the part where they would not want to encourage too many people to visit physical libraries in case there are any concern. So again, ebooks is the easiest way to push during this period. So likewise, when we actually promote this title, we will also select relevant digital storytelling if let's say these books are being featured. So we don't have that many currently. So again, there's certain room for us to work together with the publishers. So the one in the little picture below is really for the lower and upper secondary school. So again, a good mixture of books from China as well as those from local publications. So youth content, beside book recommendation, we do engage them to come together to read the book together. So we have extracted certain passages from the books that we recommend and ask them to make them into postcard to say that if you write a book review, we will actually give you a postcard as a reward. So this is an activity that we work through the secondary schools, and there are a few schools that have adopted our recommendation and are using our articles that we have provided. So again, through our Facebook post, we also promote an ebook every week on a Saturday. We do understand that Facebook is probably not the channel that youth really go to. So this is the part where we are still working on. So currently we do not have an Instagram channel for Chinese, Malay, or Tamil. But we are thinking that if by promoting through Facebook, probably the parents or the teachers will be able to pick up from here. So next we go down to adults. So there is a key, critical areas that we are working on to see how we can cultivate new readers. So romance titles is usually the top titles, top fiction area that our readers are reading for Chinese. And I think it's also applicable for Malay as well. So there is very key role that the library is playing to promote other good reads. So for the Chinese team, so every quarter, we actually push out a monthly recommendations of print and ebooks. So it will feature titles that we know that are currently, it may or may not be popular at this point in time, but usually they are what we think are good quality reads, and we wanted the reader to take note of. So these books are also used by certain reading clubs that we work together very closely, and together we try to see whether we can able to promote certain author or certain genre or titles together. So the same title will then be featured on our Facebook and other publicity channels. So besides books, there's also the magazine, and we try to use themes that will attract people and then it's relevant to their day-to-day life. So I mentioned HiRead earlier. So HiRead are ebook platform that includes mainly publication from Taiwan. But again, we do see some of the local publishers are also represented, and we do buy those titles as well. So beside this social media promotion, we will also introduce certain genre in a creative manner. So I mentioned earlier, we do a video on just introducing the different type of ebooks that we have, but we also create fiction videos that's actually introducing uniquely Chinese type of fiction. So one example will be the Chinese science fiction. And then there's also the we call it Xianxia, which I'll elaborate a little bit further. So this is the reading clubs that we are working with. We also call it learning communities because it's through reading, there's a lot of learning going on here. So last year we tie up with some Taiwan book clubs. So we call it a multi clubs event because we will invite the various Chinese reading clubs together to participate in such event. So it may be 3 clubs sharing their experience or certain learning points like how to use Zoom to create a very interactive session for book sharing. So for Chinese, it happens that we usually will have a World Book Day event, which spanned from April to sometime to June, where it's an annual event where 30 Chinese reading clubs participate together. So every year we will want to bring these clubs together, not just for this 1 or 2 months only, but it's also on a regular basis. And in fact, COVID do bring us closer together because a lot of, we have about 11 internal clubs, meaning that those are the clubs that have activities held in the libraries. But we are increasingly able to connect even better with the external club because some of their sharing, some of the book club sessions can also be shared online via our Facebook platform. So on an annual basis, we do also tie them with 95.8, where we bring them to share a book or also to publicize about their club. So the long-term plan is to bring this even closer through a website where we can have different resources on how to do good book club sharing sessions, as well as certain already videos that they have already created through the past one year and 1 year past, so that other people who are interested to know about their activities can also take a look at the past content that they have created. So we are in the process on see how we can actually get the rights from the different clubs, especially for the external ones, to put their content, to gather all their content. So this website is akan datang, something that we are planning for hopefully next year or so. So just now I mentioned about Xianxia. So sometime in 2018, when Jing Long passed away, we started a talk immediately after that. There's 1 month later. And then subsequently, every year we decided to say that we want to have a certain program. So for the second year, we actually have a panel sharing from a female perspective. And last year we created a video to introduce wuxia to a new fantasy genre in Chinese, which is quite uniquely Chinese. So this year, in fact, is 2 months later. Yeah, so sometime in late October, and then for the whole month of November, we'll work with TCZ Studio and then Wang Zhangming to feature the wuxia comics, as well as some of his other title that he's 天界无间 from his collection. So every year we hope that we can continue this event. So in fact, we are trying to think of what we want to do in 2022 already. So with that, I would like to just conclude that we hope that we can expand our collaboration with our partners to create more interesting content. So some of the idea may be that when we want to launch a book, whether we can work with certain publishers to come up with trailers. So in fact, I think earlier this year, we do work with Youyi Su Zai to come up with one of the young people book trailer to actually attract the young people to get interested in the book. So certain content, we wanted to increase the number of good quality children titles. So we mentioned that we started the project with 12 Chinese, 15 Malay and 15 Tamil. And I think we should actually continue to work that out with both the English publishers, as well as to also partner with the other MTL publishers to see how we can expand this collection. So with that, thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks, Chris. We'll go into our Q&A segment now. So if any of the audience that you have any questions for the presenters, you can either type them in the chat box or you can just unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you everyone for sharing. I'm Go Ek King from Landmark Books. It's very exciting to see how NLB is really wanting to engage with publishers to not just put our books into libraries, but also to help us put books in the hands and the homes of readers. Just some very basic questions. The mention of SG Alcove, is this the lobby at the ground floor of Victoria Street?
It is in the Central Public Library, which is at the basement one where you go in.
Okay.
So there will be a space allocated there for Singapore Alcove. Yeah.
All right. Okay. for all these projects that you work with publishers, like for book launches and all that, would there be cost involved? If there is, what sort of rental rates are we talking about?
Good question. No, there will be no cost involved. We are working together. I think we have been supporting quite a lot of book launches because our goal is really to support our local publishing and our local writers as well. So we have been providing a lot of venue sponsorship, which is similar. The MTL Book Bazaar you see here, actually, it was also a venue sponsorship given to SBPA. Yeah.
Would there be sort of obviously NLB has its own programs, right? So we've got to any other activities or events that are introduced by publishers obviously would have to fit into the existing programs of NLB. Is there a guide or a very general calendar that can be shared with us so that we know what type of slots are available?
That's possible. So earlier, I kind of shared the current programs that we are really doing under our Lead Arts program. So I will be able to put that into the calendar to show which are the period they're working that we are working on them, and I will share it with Yurik, and then he will send it out to the participants.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one more question about the MTL initiatives. NLB is really doing work that publishers should be doing, and I'm not an MTL publisher, but it's a small market, so the NLB is willing to step in the gap to do some of the publishing is quite interesting. I was just wondering, when you do the translations, the examples that you've shown, and the program that you've mentioned, like 12 for Chinese, 15 for Malay, and 15 for Tamil, these are the titles. What sort of print runs are we talking about?
So currently we are running pretty small print run. So it's probably like 500, 200 copies. It's only currently supplied to the library at the moment. There's no intent to sell it to the market. I suppose this has partly got to do with the copyright clearance. So in a sense that, yeah, the library do not want to go into the sales portion. But I think we should be open enough to actually discuss with the individual publisher to see what's the next step forward, knowing that we have actually done one round and knowing the experience and letting the publisher know how we actually promote these titles to schools. And also there can be a bundling of books together with the videos. So whether we can work out with some possible model together.
Yeah. So as I said, I'm not an MTL publisher, so I sort of hesitate to express my views. But knowing the print runs, let's say NLB does 500 copies, right? So it's interesting. The possibility is that the publisher can also add on another print run of another 500 copies, so that they can also put some books in the bookshop, and parents or students themselves may be interested in buying copies after they read it online or they see the publicity. But it seems to me that there is a possibility of greater collaboration. But as I said, I'm not an MTL publisher, so I really can't say much in terms of putting my money where my mouth is.
That's a very possible direction that we can go to. So there are some Chinese publishers here. I suppose perhaps you know how to contact me. We can actually discuss further after this.
Thank you, Jane. We have come to the end of this webinar. We hope you have benefited from it. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel and ring the bell if you like our webinars. Hope to see you again.